It started with a whisper. At first I thought it was just the wind slipping through the cracks of the old walls. You'd think after living in the odd house for so long, I'd stop being freaked out by strange noises. But this was different. It was quiet at first, barely noticeable. A soft, persistent sound, like someone breathing right behind me, just out of sight. But the more I ignored it, the louder it got. At night, when everything else was silent, I could hear it more clearly, the whispering. It wasn't just one voice either. It was a crowd of them, like 1,000 people murmuring from the walls. I didn't say anything to Anya. Part of me thought I was imagining it, but when she started waking up in the middle of the night, eyes wide and filled with the same uneasy fear I felt, I knew I wasn't alone. It got worse. A few nights later I started seeing them, eyes small, black, staring at me from cracks in the walls. Every time I turned around I'd catch a glimpse of them, just for a second, before they vanished into the dark. At first I thought it was just my mind playing tricks, that the house was getting to me. But one night, Anya saw them too. I thought I was imagining it, she said, her voice shaky, standing in the doorway of my room. But they're real, aren't they? The eyes? I nodded, trying to keep my voice steady. Yeah, I've seen them. And I've been hearing the whispers. We stood there for a moment, the silence between us thick with fear. The whispers in the walls were louder now, echoing through the dark, almost like they were trying to get our attention. It was like the house was alive. And worse, it was watching. We tried to ignore it. But as the days went on, the eyes became bolder. I'd catch glimpses of them in mirrors, reflections in windows. The more I tried not to look, the more I felt them on me, watching, waiting. It wasn't just the walls anymore. They were everywhere. The house felt tighter, like it was closing in on us. The air grew thick, and it was harder to breathe. Every creak of the floorboards made my heart race. Every time I turned a corner, I expected to see one of the watchers staring back at me, up close, just waiting. By the third night we couldn't take it anymore. Anya and I sat in the living room, huddled close, trying to ignore the constant growing whispers. The eyes were everywhere now, darting in and out of the shadows. We need to do something, Anya whispered, her voice trembling. We can't stay here like this. I didn't argue. We had no idea what these things were, or why they were watching us. But we knew they weren't going away. That's when we called for Bhairava. When Bhairava appeared, his presence immediately pushed the whispers back. The weight of the eyes lifted, though I could still feel them lurking in the corners, waiting. The Watchers, Bhairava said, his voice steady. They are ancient beings that feed on fear, drawn to places where doubt and hesitation thrive. They are not malevolent, but their presence can overwhelm those who allow them to remain. They've been watching us for days, I said, my voice cracking. How do we get rid of them? Bhairava's eyes locked onto mine. They cannot harm you directly, but they can consume you from within, feeding on the fear they create. The more you give into their presence, the stronger they become. To break their hold, you must face them. Anya looked at me, her face pale. How? They're everywhere. How do we face something we can't even really see? Bhairava stepped aside, leaving us to stand in the center of the living room, the weight of the Watchers pressing down on us again. The air around us felt heavy, thick with their presence. The whispers started up, louder, more insistent. We don't hide from them, I said, surprising myself with the confidence in my voice. We face them. Anya nodded, though I could see the fear in her eyes. Together we took slow steps toward the hallway where the Watchers seemed strongest. The shadows there shifted, the walls creaking with the weight of unseen eyes watching our every move. The whispers grew deafening, but I kept walking, heart pounding in my chest. The closer we got to the hallway, the more we could feel them, the eyes darting around us, growing in number. Show yourselves, I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls. We're not afraid of you. For a moment, everything went still. The whispers stopped and the air grew cold. Then, slowly, one by one, the Watchers appeared. Dozens of small black eyes materialized on the walls, the ceiling, the floor surrounding us, but now they weren't hiding. They were there, fully visible. The fear that had gripped me for days started to fade. They were just there, watching, but they couldn't touch us. They couldn't do anything unless we let them. Anya grabbed my hand and I squeezed it tight. They can't hurt us, she whispered, echoing what I was already feeling. They're just Watchers. With each step we took, the Watchers blinked out of existence one by one, their power fading as we stopped feeding their fear. By the time we reached the end of the hallway, the house was quiet again. The eyes were gone, the whispers silenced. Bhairava appeared beside us, his expression calm. Fear gives them form. When you stop fearing them, they lose their power. I exhaled slowly, the weight of the past few days finally lifting. The odd house felt like itself again, strange but not oppressive. Not like it had been. Anya smiled at me, tired but relieved. Next time we hear whispers in the walls. I laughed. We don't listen. Bhairava's figure began to fade back into the shadows. Remember, not all that watches means harm. Some things thrive on your fear, but they have no power if you refuse to give it to them. And just like that, he was gone. The house was quiet again, but this time I didn't feel watched.